All right, everyone, welcome back. You are listening to Into the Cypher State. This is the premier public broadcast of Galactica Network, and I'm very happy to be back. We've missed 2 weeks of really good content, so I'm really looking forward to speaking to everyone again. Welcome up to the speaker panel, my favorite co-host in the world, CosmosHOSS, who seems to have rebranded himself as C. I'm just going to call you C from now on, mate. How are you doing, buddy?
Good. I did that for one reason. In the actual spaces, it would never say Hoss, and everyone always called me something else, which it didn't matter. It's just to me, it kind of looks better. It's like C Hoss, and it's like whatever. You guys could figure it out. But anyhow, I'm doing well. Yeah, it seemed longer than 2 weeks. Time flies. Um, but
When you're
yeah,
having fun, yeah.
all is well. I'm looking forward to the conversation. I didn't do a lot of recon on it. Obviously, I'm not blind or deaf either. It was kind of like mainstream news, and it was like everywhere about all the outages and stuff like that. But I'm looking forward to the conversation.
No worries, man. No worries. I will always provide context as much as I can. It's going to be a good conversation, I promise you. Paper. We got Paper up on stage. Paper is one of our fantastic sentinels. Welcome to the stage.
Hello,
man.
hello. What's up, all? Like, it's been a really good week also. Like, it's a pleasure to welcome you back. And I just want to make a huge shout out to Samot, who allowed me to do the French IMA this Monday. It was really interesting, and we went through a lot of subjects. So it will be soon live on YouTube or somewhere else, and I will take give you all an update on this. But it will be soon, surely end of the week or at the beginning of next week.
Man, I'm really looking forward to hearing that one. I'll have to use some kind of translation software to actually understand it, but I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you for hosting it. Like, Galactica is all about, if nothing else, Galactica is about unifying people and bringing together communities, like enforcing the bonds between existing communities and making new ones. So that's absolutely fantastic, mate. And thank you for taking the initiative.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Heather.
Welcome. You're welcome. All right, everyone. So we are Galactica. We are the ultimate private identity stack in Web3. You are going to want to jump on to galactica.com/links if you want to get started with what we're doing right now. For everyone who is not already aware, we've just moved all of our questing platforms and everything that you need to do to get involved from Zeely over to TaskOn. So you're going to be wanting to go over to, I believe it's community. No, I'm just going to actually get up the proper link for you. It is community.galactica.com/task. Okay, so that will be like it's a white label version of TaskOn specifically for us, specifically for Galactica. So you can jump over to community.galactica.com/task and get started with the questing, get involved with Galactica. With that out of the way, we need to do our little disclaimer. It's very important to remember that myself, CosmosHOSS, Paper up here, any sentinel that's on the stage, any member of the team, in fact, we are your guides to navigating the cypher state, but we are not your financial advisors. We know nothing. We know absolutely nothing. Assume that we are idiots. Do not trust your money with your financial decisions. With anything you hear on the internet, do your own research. Anything said on this space does not constitute financial or investment advice. Now then, we are going to be talking about a couple of things today. We're going to be talking about some geopolitical stuff. We're going to be talking about the CrowdStrike thing mainly, I guess, because that one's kind of a sore point for me. So I just wanted to have a chat about it. And we're also going to be talking about a couple more, more trivial things. First things first. We just got another person up on the stage. Justin, how are you doing, Justin? Welcome to the stage. First time I've seen you up here. Maybe I was too early. Maybe I was too quick on the... Yeah, ringing Justin. That's okay. Crickets. Where's the crickets? Where's the cricket soundboard, Hoss? Right. Okay. In any case, are you off speaking now? Can you speak, Justin? No. Okay. You know what, Justin? When you have the ability to speak, just raise your hand. Happy to have you up. Would love to hear your contributions. For now, we're just going to jump straight into a couple of little pieces of news that I want to have a chat about with Hoss and with Paper. First things first, Hoss, you posted up not long ago. You posted up a rich list of things that will assumedly do well for you in the coming months and years, I suppose. We got Whiff, we got Retardio, GigaChad, Lockin, Billy, Pepe, Mog, Andy, Wolf, and Not. Which one of those is your favorite, my friend? Which one's going to make us
I
most?
mean, it's hard to pick from them, man. They're all winners. Like that's just what this cycle's about. It's crazy, you know. Even last cycle, you know, the top meme coins just outperformed everything by like a milestone, and I don't see any difference now. In fact, I think the data is showing that really, I don't know if retail is all tapped out or whatever it is, but or just people are getting annoyed with, AKA utility coins, where the devs and validators and everyone else are just dumping constantly, and there's nothing but sell pressure. So at least with some of these meme coins, like the entire supply's out there, and then it's all just the people that they kind of dictate everything, right? And there's no sell pressure. I mean, people can sell obviously, but there's no inflation. It's just all out there. So people are just that's just kind of the thing right now. And then a lot of people have this misnomer, or just they hate meme coins or whatever it is, or they kind of like intrinsically um, root against it because they want to be right that they're putting their money into whatever other token out there that's an L1 or whatever have you. But I mean, it's kind of like, why go against the trend? It's just, I wasn't a real big meme coin guy, but I mean, it's just so blatantly obvious. Like that's just the play. Like there's other stuff too, like AI and RWAs and stuff like that as well, and depend. But for the most part, the money, you just follow what's going on. It's going into like these top meme coins that are kind of the beta for whatever particular chain, whether it's Solana, Ton, or Ethereum. It's kind of just the way it is right now.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. To be honest, I think there's an awful lot to be said for the purity of a community coin, just something that is like completely community owned, a completely known quantity. Like there's of course this is a space in which trust is kind of everything and nothing, and if you can't have the trust, then you may as well have zero trust and then just go with vibes. That's one way of doing it. I take a look at Poss's timeline. He's always got posting some cool stuff. Give him some love. He's always given the best advice that I can think of. Cool stuff, man. Cool stuff. We will be checking in with you in like a year or something to double check how that investment advice has carried out.
Yeah, I mean, do it all up. Someone's echoing. Yeah, do it up, man. I'm here.
You got it, man. You got it. Okay. Main piece of I don't know, most recent news, I suppose, is the ETH ETF. So we've got an ETH ETF that went live yesterday, I believe, which is awesome. So well done to the space. Claps in chat. Claps on the emotes, whatever you can do. Just so you're aware, like, thank you, Hoss. Perfect. So this is the vibe, man. This is the vibe. This is always good to have like this kind of real money coming into the space. Mike, I have a question about that in a second, but first, just a bit of context. So we've had $107 million worth of inflows on day one, trading volume above $1 billion, which is pretty good. Comparative to that, Bitcoin on its first ETF day had 4.5 billion in trading volume and a $600 million net inflow. So not as much as Bitcoin, but still very respectable indeed. So I'm quite happy with like the amount of interest in the ETH ETF. But again, that question. So I guess ETFs are obviously a net positive for the space. I think we can all pretty much agree on that. It's nice to have money is good. But what percentage of like the people who are investing in these vehicles do you think will actually onboard to Web3 in some way? So maybe, Hoss, whatever you got.
I was gonna say, to be honest with you, right now, I would say a very small amount. Very small. It's probably more for people that want to add exposure to the retirement funds. And to be honest with you, I think like the ETFs are more for boomers anyhow. So we all kind of know how that is. Um, I think It's not a bearish sentiment. It's like you said, the more the merrier. But I don't know how we capitalize like getting them people on chain. There definitely will be some for sure, but I would venture to say not too much, especially off the beginning, out of the gate, so to speak.
I think that's a completely fair take. Yeah, I really do. Paper, I don't know if you have an opinion on this. Like, how many do you think many of these people who are investing in ETFs will actually onboard to the space?
Actually, I don't really know. Like, it will depend on maybe them and I don't really know. I don't follow this so much, no. So I might say wrong. I might be wrong here, so I
You
prefer
can't
not
say
to
a
say
wrong
anything.
thing. Not on this space.
Yeah.
On this space, there is no wrong opinion. It's okay, mate. But yeah, completely understood. Completely understood. Yeah, it's a complex relationship, I guess. Like these ETFs, in my view, they just like provide external monetary input, and that's great. But it's still the same. Like still the same equation as far as onboarding is concerned. You still have to convince them that decentralization equals your freedom, like your uninterruptible, uncensored, unlimited access to freedom. And you need to convince them that the actual self-ownership of your assets and of your stuff is important enough as a value prop. Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. I just wanted to get like a vibe check, pretty much, on how you think that's going to go.
Yeah, and I think I just have a quick opinion on this. Like, maybe people are also checking whether either if BlackRock is trying to get all of the potential supply, because it was at the moment they were buying, and it was mostly remaining on the Bitcoin ETF that the long-term holder were not selling to BlackRock, even if the price was like going up. So it's pretty much showing that today long-term holder and people are not trying to sell to like big enterprise and big like investment companies, and that the power is still like inside the end of all the people, inside the end of the world. So it's pretty interesting to see that.
Yeah. I mean, I think this entire space, this entire Web3 that we are building right now, it's very much a space founded on principles, and those principles are incredibly strong and incredibly like they're part of your core. They're part of everything that you believe in if you're actually building in this space for like real reasons. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense, I guess, that if BlackRock comes along with their commercialized ETFs and all this stuff, that some people just don't want to give them their BTC. It makes some sense. But opinions, guys. Like I say, we are actually running a stream right now, just so you're aware. We are streaming on YouTube and we are streaming on X. We also have inputs from our Telegram and our Discord. So anything that you put in the Discord AMA questions channel or the Telegram AMA questions channel will appear here on the stream in the text, and I will feature anything that is really interesting or a really good talking point or a really good question. Likewise, in any of the streaming chats, we'll be able to bring those into the live stream as well. So yeah, we're testing all this stuff out right now, but we'd love to get your opinions. You don't need to be a speaker to have input on this particular show. So yeah, make use of that. Give us some questions. Give us your opinions. Again, in those AMA questions channel in Telegram or Discord, or in the streaming chats. Good stuff. Thanks, Paper. That was really good. I appreciate your opinions. Like I say, there is no wrong opinion up here. We appreciate everyone's input. You don't have to be a good speaker. You don't have to be. You don't have to have English as a first language. None of that stuff. We are an inclusive space. Come up here, give your opinion. We love it. We love it. Right. Next part. Mt. Gox. So Mt. Gox is actually moving like vast, I think really vast sums of Bitcoin once again. So they moved $3 billion worth of Bitcoin last week, and over 130 million of that went to Bitstamp as an exchange alone. So quick question, just very quick. Do you think Mt. Gox's like previous customers could possibly suppress Bitcoin's price potential over the entirety of the summer? What do you think, Os?
What's the total amount that they have?
They moved 3 billion in the last week. I don't know the full total. It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I to be honest with you, I didn't really look at that. That's something I should look at and see how much that they actually have that they could potentially do that. I mean, I've been saying this forever now. I still think that Bitcoin's going to be at 100K ish by Christmas time. Usually Q4 is like when stuff starts to like take off. So yeah, I don't know though. It's tough to say. I don't think so because there's just so much buy pressure. Even if they dump, people buy. Like Germany, they were just unloading, and it really didn't do much. It just got bought right back up, and you know, it is what it is. To be honest with you, I would still like to know how much total that they do have, because I mean, a few billion is not going to do anything. To be honest with you.
I would tend to agree. Yeah, I think an awful lot of people are ready to scoop it up. I think they are ready to scoop it up. We just got Chris B, one of our sentinels, in the Discord, saying that he received his Mt. Gox Bitcoin just yesterday. So well done, Chris B. Congratulations. Give him a clap in the chat. He's got his Mt. Gox Bitcoin. Well done. That must have taken a long while, man. Let's go on to the main topic, everyone. Before we do so, please check out that purple pill, bottom right of your screen. Give us a like and a retweet, perhaps a comment if you feel like interacting with the show. Just really helps us out with the algorithm, gets this thing out to more people. We provide value on this show, so we'd like to make sure that more people get exposure to it. And not a shill space. We are representing Galactica.com here. It's a protocol that we are building to improve the space, to make it a better place. But we're not here to shill. We are here to improve the value of the entire space with this X space, make it an external community show, something that is valuable to an awful lot of people. So if you can share it, that would be awesome. Much love. Okay, so CrowdStrike, everyone. HOSS paper. What do you already know about CrowdStrike? What you said you didn't know very much about it so far, right, HOSS?
Yeah, it had to do with Microsoft operating system, correct?
That's right. So we've got. I'm just going to accept a request from Matt.
Which is absolutely horrible, by the way. Like I have 3 different operating systems. I use them all, and Linux by far is the best. And then Mac is. I mean, they're both Mac and Linux, and then yeah, Microsoft to me just keeps getting worse. Like, there's no innovation with Microsoft. It seems like all they do is just like purchase people that have innovative ideas, and then they just kind of copy and paste it over there. They don't seem to be pushing the envelope. It just seems more just, I don't know. So yeah, there's that. But while you tell me that, I did see that the only one that didn't go down was running like Windows 3.1, which
Yeah,
was
man,
kind
just
of
use
funny.
old software. I mean,
This is kind of funny. Like, why are you running Windows 3.1?
the real problem with that is that the person running Windows 3.1 will be like a critical infrastructure layer, like a bank or a freaking government or something, who just doesn't update anything ever. Anyway.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Right. So for context, by the way, welcome Matt to the stage. You know what? I'm just going to welcome Matt to the stage. How you doing, buddy? It's good to see you, man.
Hello, Dave. Yeah, you too. Long time no speak. And you, Hoss? I'm doing very well. How about yourselves?
Rocking,
Doing
man.
well, man. No complaints.
Oh, congratulations on getting on the full employment with Checked.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I decided to go all in following some recent developments, but I'm not going to shill any of that stuff. I'm just here to hear your thoughts on CrowdStrike. You said at the very beginning, it's a sensitive topic for you, and I'm curious to hear more.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So context, everyone. Everyone loves a bit of context. So on July 19, so this is Friday last week. For anyone who didn't know, basically there was a worldwide outage on various Microsoft machines. Now, these were mostly, these were all computers that were serviced by a company called CrowdStrike. It's a relatively small company, but they provide security services for enterprise clients. Now, those enterprise clients include banks, airlines, government agencies, schools, emergency services. An awful lot of very important people rely on CrowdStrike for their security services on their Microsoft machines. Now, the issue occurred because their software Like this is essentially anti-malware kind of software. They call it Falcon. It operates at the kernel level on your computer, right? Which is like this. You've got like the user level that you see on your computer, which is the stuff you interact with your operating system, your file system, all that stuff that you can actually see. And then you've got the kernel level, which is like a privileged access area, which is just for the system so that it can see all like the hardware parts and all that stuff. So for their Falcon product, their Falcon security product to actually work, they basically they had to hook into this kernel. Now, there is normally a validation and certification process from Microsoft whenever a new update is pushed to like something that hooks into the kernel. Because obviously anything that can access all the hardware on your PC is highly sensitive, like ridiculously sensitive, especially when you're dealing with enterprise clients. So CrowdStrike, instead of going through this certification process, they opted to disguise their updates as essentially a form of like driver update. So the only way that they could get their software to work in any way was to basically be like act as a driver, so it could access the kernel, get access to this specialized privileged area of your computer. But then to update it, they basically disguised their stuff as like a little driver update, which tricked the kernel into thinking it was all okay. Now, this is fine in the fact that they were doing it with good intentions, I believe. They were essentially trying to get their security updates out to their customers faster. Like, security updates often need to be very quick. And the certification process from Microsoft for kernel level stuff is often like a week or more. So getting stuff out like on day one, like exploits and stuff, very difficult. So they were doing it with those intentions to get security updates out faster. However, they completely ignored all of the safety rules involved in those kernel level updates, which are very, very important for obvious reasons. So when someone at CrowdStrike pushed an update to their security software, it essentially made 8.5 million computers worldwide at all these critical infrastructures, again, banks, airlines, government agencies, schools, emergency services, just about everyone you can think of who computers matter for. It basically made all their computers, these 8.5 million computers, blue screen. And every single one of those computers that blue screened has to have an individual engineer go and fix each one individually. Like there's no network updates, nothing. It has to be done individually at the source. So after all that, you can imagine that is a massive, massive problem. And we've ended up in a situation where like emergency services have gone offline, where banks have failed, where airline services have failed. It's been billions in damages already. So that's the context, right? That's the context. One company, a small company at that, relatively speaking, has just taken out the critical infrastructure of multiple countries simultaneously. Like if this was an act that was perpetrated by like a malign power, like someone who was against your nation state or something, it would have been considered a very successful like hack, right? It would have been considered a very successful hack. But here we are. So this is with the actual cause basically being incompetence, I would say, and perhaps a little bit of ego in CrowdStrike thinking that they were really good at their work and that the rules didn't apply to them. So I would say this is essentially a decentralization issue. We have an incredibly small company with a disproportionate effect on the wider world through basically because they could decide to simply not follow the rules. So I do have a couple of questions on this. Firstly, you know what, I'll just get some initial opinions first. So Hoss, does that clear things up? Do you have any more questions?
No, I mean, I got the gist of it. Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a centralization problem. Jeez Louise. I didn't realize it was that like that. That's pretty wild. But it doesn't shock me, to be honest with you. It's just literally like legacy just does not shock me. Like literally nothing about legacy shocks me. And I say it all the time about everything. Like people have complaints about whatever it is, the economy or safety or secure, whatever it is. I'm just like, nothing's changing until all the boomers pass away. And I hate to say it like that, but it's kind of the reality of it. They're so stuck in their ways, and it's all about control. And not saying younger people don't want control either, but like you need things to kind of check that, and it's just out of control. That's crazy. It's craziness.
It really, really, really is. You know what? Any more initial impressions? Matt or Paper, just jump in if you've got initial impressions. Otherwise, I'll just jump to a question.
Yeah, you pretty much hit it at the beginning. One of the things I was pre-prepared with when I seen the title of the space was the sheer number of devices that were impacted, like 8.5 million devices, it made it worse if these devices as well, if they were bootlocker encrypted. And then again, I mean, I'm also a tech. I wasn't directly impacted because I don't use CrowdStrike, but as part of a practice that I operate on when I'm encrypting devices, I store those encryption keys for BitLocker on a separate drive on the server, which is then backed up. If, however, that server just happened to be impacted by CrowdStrike, suddenly you have a much bigger problem than just trying to be able to go in there. Some people were, reporting that just rebooting the VM up to 15 times, they were suddenly able to get access, and it was just a single sys file that sat in the drivers folder, which, as you mentioned, which managed to take down all of these systems worldwide, is a major cock-up. It's not just something that you can easily just brush under the carpet. And I agree completely. The centralization aspect of being able to make that decision unchecked was a fundamental failure.
100%. Yep, couldn't agree more. So, you know what? I'll jump to the obvious question. You know what? April Zoe from actually one of our Sentinels, and she's asking from Discord. I featured your chat, April. Thank you. So, what is CrowdStrike more, corrupt or incompetent? I would say incompetent on this one. If anyone has another opinion, please stay up. I think they're incompetent. What do you reckon, Hoss, Matt?
See, I hate the word incompetent because it's like it's such a cop out, right? We heard the same thing about the Trump shooting, right? Oh, so it was incompetence. Like, well, how does something like that happen? Like how does random 20-year-old get 100, like a little over 100 yards with a freaking assault rifle with the supposed to be one of the most secure people on planet Earth? Or how does this whole network go down when millions of people are on airlines? Like it just doesn't. And confidence is like that's just like an easy word to throw. Like people need to be held accountable, like accountable, and yeah, there needs to be something that goes down with that. That's all I could say about it.
Yeah.
You're 100%. Sorry.
No, go on, Matt. Go on.
No, I was just going to agree with you, Hoss. You're 100% correct there. There is no way you can just let something like this just slide. There has to be some serious inquiries into the decision making, how these processes were established and signed off. Going through this process, you've got multiple QA engineers and developers who are deciding how this stuff should work, but ultimately it's the decision makers who are in positions that decide whether or not to roll this out. Just putting that paw print on there to allow that by overlooking the fact that they needed these controls in place in order to be able to do it, and they just completely failed, is beyond incompetence. It's a fundamental failure and a flaw in the system.
It's like it even goes beyond that because, like I say, they had all of the relevant like procedures in place. Like what they should have done, like whenever you're dealing with the kernel, the procedure is to contact Microsoft and get your update certificated. Now, that certification took too long, essentially, for CrowdStrike's purposes, and they intentionally used a workaround to get like their updates out instantly without certification. So they went around the procedures. Like this again, like a relatively small company had this outsized effect on the rest of the world simply because it was a business decision, essentially. Now, it's absolutely madness. And like I say, April, I would label it, I don't know, somewhere in the middle of corrupt and incompetent, but leaning towards incompetent, I guess. Because like I say, they did actively work around the procedures that were in place to prevent this kind of thing. Right. Oh, damn, I was going to ask Paper, but he's disappeared. No worries. Okay, well, if anyone else would like to come up to the speaker panel, by the way, you are more than welcome. This is a completely open stage. We don't do like pre-planned speakers generally. We will sometimes bring up some really interesting people just to have a really good word with. But it is a completely open stage in all space, every time that you come up here, every time that we run the space, it's open. So if there is a free space, we will get you up here. Again, you can also interact on Telegram, Discord, and in the streaming chats. So we've also got a couple of questions here. We've got Villain in Discord once again. If we talk about CrowdStrike, does CrowdStrike comply with all international cybersecurity regulations? What challenges that they face in different countries? I would say that if they generally do, I mean, if they work with enterprise clients, then they would generally have to comply with all international regulations. However, they clearly don't comply with internal processes like security processes. If it involves a business decision, then they're not complying with that internal process, which is very worrying, especially again when you have such an outsized effect on these things. We also have where are we? This CrowdStrike outage has impacted the entire world, but who will pay the compensation? What are they going to do to avoid this breakdown? As far as I'm aware, there have been multiple releases from CrowdStrike so far, but none of them, they've been kind of pointing fingers so far, various, explaining it away. I believe their stock price took like a 10% dip on the day, but
15.
15 even, there you go. So they took a pretty hefty hit, but it's not like that they're out of the game or anything. It's like, I believe that they're probably, if they're this far entangled into like enterprise infrastructure, they're not the kind of like company that's going to go under even after something like this, or at least they'll be slowly phased out rather than like just fall down dead, you know? So they will have to find a way to try and avoid this in the future, try and recover their reputation. Whether that's possible, I don't know. But yeah, we'll just have to see on that one. That was from Villain in Discord again.
Just on the earlier point, on the question that was raised earlier in terms of the what they comply with. The irony is that they comply with the Federal Risk and Authorization Management Program, which is called FedRAMP, which is very strict when it comes to how they assess when to be able to make these decisions, and yet they completely screw that up.
100%, man. Welcome to the stage, Shek Z. Welcome to the stage, man. How are you doing? Sorry, I said man, but welcome to the stage.
GM, I don't know if I'm not audible.
I can hear you just fine. You're a bit fuzzy, but I can hear you fine.
Okay. Actually, I'm not an American. I'm an African guy, Nigeria precisely. So I just love your project, which is the reputational builder. So I just discovered it like 3 days ago, and I started farming it. So I just want you to help me to clear some of my doubt. Like, just explain more about the project. What are they working on? Is it an NFT or a token or a meme coin?
Okay, yeah, no problem at all. Well, thank you for coming up, Shek. That's wonderful that you're interested in the project. I guess you were introduced by the TG Mini app, the reputation builder. That's awesome. So we're a layer 1 blockchain. We're unreleased layer 1 blockchain. We're currently in testnet. We basically have the goal to not only provide like a normal blockchain service in which, you know, you have your decentralization, you have the ownership of your assets, you have freedom and good spirits and all those wonderful things to do with financial transactions. But we also want to bring on board the idea of identity and reputation to blockchain, like basically bring the entirety of the scope of society to the Web3 world. Now, this is incredibly important and it's incredibly impactful if done correctly. So you can not only improve all of what Web3 is currently, So you could have much more interesting DeFi primitives, for example, when you have reputation involved, when you know you have trust with a person. You can provide them with like a better rate if they've got a good reputation on a lending platform or something, or you could provide them with a higher rate if you know that they've scammed in the past, or you could completely deny them service in that case. It makes things an awful lot more meritocratic and fair in governance, that kind of thing. There's too many real use cases to list right now, but the point is that we are trying to bring in your identity and your reputation into the Web3 world, onto this blockchain. But critically, we are doing it while maintaining your privacy completely. So you will be completely private, but you will also be able to be trusted. You will also be able to query other accounts and basically ask them whether they are over 18, or whether they live in a sanctioned area, or whether they have used a lending protocol in the past, whether they've defaulted on a loan in the past, whether they've had an X account, for example, that's over 5 years old and has consistently posted or something. You can take basically reputation points from both the on-chain and off-chain worlds, bring them together into a social profile, and then have this incredible identity on Galactica, which you can then use completely privately. So it's a massive project. So welcome aboard. I'm really glad you've come in at this point, at this early point. I won't go on too much about that right now because obviously we've got a lot more to talk about. But hopefully that gives you a bit of a primer. And the best thing you can probably do to get started is to jump onto TaskOn and start questing. We've just migrated over to TaskOn for all our questing purposes. So you can go to galactica.com and you can find all of our links and all of our stuff. Make sure you jump on the Discord and on the Telegram. I assume you're already on the Telegram channel. But yeah, that should be pretty much everything, Shek. And if you have any other questions, then just ask in the Discord or the Telegram. Does that answer your questions? If you have any more, welcome to answer. Okay, I think Shek's microphone may have failed. It's okay, no worries. But I really appreciate you coming up, mate. Okay, so let's have a little look. Is there anything else from the chats? Not right now. Perfect. So I would say decentralization matters more the further that we digitize our lives and that we globalize the world, right? So we probably wouldn't be in this room if we thought otherwise. But how would you personally sell decentralization to a friend, guys? That's my question of the day, I suppose. We know that decentralization is important, but how would you personally sell it? Or how do you personally sell it to your friends? How do you onboard people to the space with the narrative of decentralization? Maybe we'll go with Matt first.
It's a word that you guys use as well as us. For me, it's about sovereignty. It's about control. It's about mitigating risk. And it's allowing me and other people to be able to transact either P2P or within other communities in a way that's less restrictive. It gives me more freedom. And there's also a lot of great opportunities there. That would be, for me, probably how I would sell it. I generally don't push Web3 because, tokens, and many people think risk and loss and skepticism, but until they actually get there, it quickly becomes a very different story, which was pretty much what happened with me when I started my journey 4 years ago. But ultimately, that's what I'm finding. It's this, and you mentioned earlier that there's a push. It's principled. People are building things on principle, and one of the big things that I'm very interested in is the element of sovereignty. And that's how I would sell it.
Great answer. And yeah, it's a beautiful concept. The only thing I would say is with sovereignty is like a conceptual thing. It normally takes me 3 minutes or so just to get people to understand what the word means, let alone the ramifications. It's a long conversation. I think generally speaking, it's a long conversation trying to get people to understand crypto. But yeah, there's a lot of concepts there. Hoss, how would you do it, man? How do you do you onboard people? And do you I know you onboard people, but how do you do it with the decentralization narrative?
I mean, I just explain to people if they are going to get into the space, about how important it is for them to own everything that they own, right? Like no one could just randomly take it away from you. You're in control of everything. Obviously there's responsibilities and things like that, but that's kind of what I just tell them if they're going to get into the space. And yeah, I mean that's kind of it. I mean, it's if they don't want to do that, then I just tell them to use Coinbase or something. Just stay there. But at least they're kind of they're somewhat in the door. They're in the mud room or whatever before they get into the house, but they're not in, but they're somewhat in. So yeah, I just say that because it, the problem is that someone can just click a button or do whatever they want and take your funds from you if you don't own your own keys. So it's kind of like what I tell them.
Yeah, yeah. No, I got you, man, and that's completely fair. I think one of the things that I would do in general is try to use recent events like this. Like when there's an event that comes up that's relevant, I will use that as an example and try and use as many analogies in simple language as I can. For example, like with this particular CrowdStrike situation, in which you have such a small company having such an outsized negative effect on the world, and you tell them why. Like you tell them why that happened, and it's not because there weren't rules in place. It's because the rules weren't followed. And if, for example, those rules were set in stone, they were immutable and they were in code, then those rules would have to be followed. If the decision making process in order to get that like code update into that kernel was a governance process rather than just some devs pushing an update, then this would be much less likely to have happened. I always try and use like a recent event to anchor the story, anchor the reasoning. So yeah, that's how I would generally try and do it. I think decentralization is a very under-discussed topic, even within our space, because it's one of those kind of like nebulous topics, even within the people who work within Web3. It's one of these things that sometimes, I've said it before, decentralized enough is enough. As long as as long as you can't take down a network through a single centralized actor, or like a series of geographically located actors, then you're okay. As long as you're decentralized enough to prevent the system going down, then you're okay. But there's always a case for more decentralization. There are situations in the world that we live in right now that are dangerous, like dangerous levels of centralization. I think I discussed it on a podcast with you, like 4 or 5 weeks ago, Hoss. The Taiwan situation, in which like a single company, TMSC, I believe, Taiwan Semiconductor Corp or something like that, TSMC, whatever it is. They basically control 60%, 70% of the world's high-end computer chips. And they are currently in a geopolitical standoff with China, one of the most powerful countries in the world, who have a mandate to bring that Taiwan back into their country by force if necessary. That is a tricky situation. That's like 70% of the world's high-end computer chips, which are used in everything, in jeopardy over a geopolitical issue. There's the Russia-Ukraine issue, with farming, with wheat. There's Russia-NATO. These conflicts, these geopolitical problems, they all lead to centralization. They all expose centralization risks. So I think it's something that needs to be discussed more. And I wonder whether, do you consider these geopolitical risks when you're talking about blockchain and decentralization in general, Hoss?
Sometimes it depends on what the topic is about. I think that yeah, it's a tough one to answer. Really, I try to just mute all the noise. I think that Did I answer your question? I'm not even sure if I'm blabbing right now. I'm a little bit brain dead today. Haven't been sleeping much. Reword the question for me,
Why haven't
please.
you been sleeping, Hoss? Tell me why you haven't been sleeping.
I've been to like you've seen the post. I mean, I'm locked in right now. I'm locked into just like random shit going on, and also I'm learning a lot of different ecosystems. Like I guess we're talking about onboarding, and I'm like really interested in Ton a lot because it's just like there's like 900 million people that use freaking Telegram, and it's getting better and better for ways for people to get onboarded, and that's kind of excluding like America and some other places right now because it's kind of a pain in the ass to get Ton and like mess around on that on Ton's ecosystem if you're American right now, but no, so like I've been like just learning a lot of stuff. I've actually been learning Linux and Rust, so I've just like pushing my brain to the max, man. Because that's like my one of my things. I've done everything in this space so far except for write lines of code and stuff. So I'm like, you know what? Might as well do that too. So I've been just like side hobby and yeah, just getting after it, man, and not getting enough sleep. Too much caffeine, to be honest with you. Need to cut back on the caffeine.
That's completely fair, dude. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we all have our moments where we're just completely locked in and we run out of physical energy.
Yeah, that was me. And I'm supposed to do a space in like 4 hours from now, and I'm gonna be so brain dead.
Oh, good times. Good times.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, Matt, I guess same question. Do you consider geopolitics when you are when you're discussing decentralization? Does it enter your mind at all? Like I say, it enters mine. I don't. What does it yours?
It does. It's actually a really important thing. I don't want to get too much into some of the things that I will talk about because it's quite controversial. But ultimately, yes. But some of the things that I'm finding is that the word itself, decentralization, it's a very difficult thing for people to initially get their head around because they're so absorbed in everyday life. The life itself is centralized. They rely on the banking systems. They rely on schools, local councils, governments. Everything's centralized. Everything's federated. They've got all of these different logins, and to them, that's what's normal. Trying to explain the concept that, well, actually, it doesn't need to be that way. I've often found initially when I have the first discussions that you can see the brain cogs sort of ticking. It's like, well, now you're talking about. So yes, in many cases, you have to refer to various different events. One of them, which I don't want to get too much into, is what happened with like the war in Afghanistan and things like the financial impacts of 9/11 and the way certain money was removed around that time. But I don't want to get into all of that. Suddenly you start to think, right, okay, well, fine. But when you start to tie it to how they transact in centralized systems and compare that with a decentralized system, getting them to understand their sovereign self is largely a completely new concept. And I often find that when discussing decentralization, it's probably one of the hardest sticking points for some. It's like a hurdle, like a psychological hurdle. It's like, wow, okay, this is new. I've never seen this before. And for me, that's pretty common. And it is incredibly important to mention these events in order to demonstrate and illustrate why they have weaknesses, why they fail, and how the regular man or woman is directly impacted through no fault of their own. So yes, it is incredibly important to have a reference point, a benchmark to use to explain it.
I agree completely. No, I completely agree with that. I think you're right. People are just very much they're used to legacy. They're used to what they know, and it's a really difficult proposition to move away from systems which you are comfortable with and work. Like as far as like the end user is concerned, they work. They only it only matters when they fail. Now the problem with centralized systems is that when they fail almost instantly and they affect everyone. So this is why I think education in this space is so freaking important. And often there's an awful lot of misinformation out there that goes unchallenged. I think we need to learn together the true benefits of decentralization, like the kind of benefits and the kind of like value that decentralization brings to the table that would actually hit right with normal people. And then we need to figure out ways of getting that information out there. So I think together we need to try and figure that out. Go on, Matt. You came off mic.
Yeah, it was just an additional point. One thing I've just remembered that I use quite often is, you know, the guys that collect the trash. You know, the bin men and women who come around, and it's usually men mainly who'll take it away, and it's usually managed centrally by like a local government authority, and the decision on the planning around that and how they process it at these recycling facilities is centrally managed. And we rely on that as a basic sort of utility. And most people kind of overlook the fact that we just expect that, you know, we put the trash out at a certain time of the week. Someone comes and collects it, we empty it, and then we continue to fill it up again. But suddenly, if for whatever reason somebody makes a decision and they make changes to that, or they extend it, and you've got like a family of 5, and you know you're suddenly filling up this bin so much quicker, and you're overflowing with rubbish, people see it as a big problem, and they start first complaining, like, "Well, actually, this is an outrage." And then you point out to them,
right, man. Like,
what
was it Italy or was it Paris or something like that? I think it was quite recent where there was like a strike with sanitation workers, right? And it was just horrific. Some of the images that came out of there like 2 days later.
Yeah, then you suddenly you know you're subject to things like you know, rats and disease. It can go as far as that. Whereas if you had a system in place whereby, I don't know, I decided I wanted to pay someone directly to come at a certain time at a certain day, like a contractor, suddenly you're removing the control away from those centralized local authorities to a more self-governed process whereby it's a mutual transaction. It's done correctly. I don't have to rely on what happens by other people, and anything, especially if it's impacted by a form of legislation, like at the country level, suddenly it can have massive ramifications. And when you have rubbish piling up in the streets, you'll soon find pretty quickly people get very pissed off. That's usually a very good example that I have used in the past. I just wanted to mention that when we were talking about decentralization, it's how we collect trash, how it's taken for granted, and yet when it piles up, people suddenly start paying attention when the wolves are at the door.
That's a freaking amazing example, mate. It really is, and it's like it's comparable in nature to, like, it's the immediacy of stuff, guys. It's the immediacy of the problems that you see when centralized problems occur. Like the other example I can think of, in addition to Matt's, that relates to crypto directly, is the banking system. Like, the second that you're happy with the banking system right now, right? Because you can go to a bank and you can get your money. What if a government says that, like, tells the bank, no, you're not allowed to give out money anymore? Or the bank simply says, nope, you're not having your money. We don't have enough money in the bank. Basically. You don't have any recourse, do you? No, exactly, Matt. Like, no recourse whatsoever. You just have lost everything that you've ostensibly given to these banks in trust, and you have no recourse to get it back. This is why sovereignty matters.
Sorry, I was just going to say, and then what about when it comes to your mortgage? You know, you've suddenly got a down payment on your house to pay, and the bank won't release the funds, and suddenly you're falling behind with payments, and you're in a much bigger problem. You know, again, that's a centralized issue. Again, using your banking example.
Exactly, man. And it's better, like, it's just better to plan for the future. Like, plan redundancy into your life. Just make sure that you are not putting all your eggs in one basket. Is another good tactic to always apply to everything in your life, pretty much. You should be in Web3 simply because it's another option, right? You've got a centralized banking system, you've got a centralized government system, you've got centralized just about everything. It's a good idea to hedge your bets and have a backup system which is completely secure, which has your best interests at heart, because you are the one who owns it. Okay? You are the only person in this world who truly has your own best interests at heart. So you should be in Web3 for those very reasons, because you are in control. You have all the freedom in the world. You have the keys. You own your assets. You can do whatever you want without censorship, without any kind of interference from anyone else. So that is the kind of hedge that I can get behind. That is the kind of freedom that I can get behind. So yeah, I believe decentralization as a concept needs to be communicated more and better, and it needs to be discussed more within our space and not just discussed as kind of an aside, as a byproduct of what we're doing. Right. Wow. Okay, there was an awful lot that's gone on there, and I just realized that an entire hour has disappeared in the blink of an eye. Okay, so I've got a question from Yozapi. I believe this was from Discord. Yeah, Discord. Are there any special events or promotions planned for users who actively participate in the reputation builder? Yes. So yes, I can't give like full details, but all I can say is that we've started doing some custom quests now. Some of those custom quests will lead to some new promotions and to events. So that's all I can really say to that, Yozapi. But thank you very much for the question. I've had your questions been featured on the stream, so you'll be able to see that later on. Thank you for the question. Right then, guys, I don't want to make this. I've tried and tried to get these streams and these X spaces down to a reasonable time. I realize that they have previously gone on for 2 hours plus sometimes, and we've had feedback that may be a bit too long. So we've been trying to get them down a little bit. So we will be trying to tie things up now. Shek, you've got your hand up. Please, what's your question?
Sorry, I don't know if there is any place where I don't know if you have make anything like your white paper or like for me to read about the project.
Absolutely. We probably have more information for you than you can handle. So all you need to do is go to galactica.com/research, and you will find not only our white paper, but also papers involving reputation, involving governance, involving sovereign wealth funds, involving our Academy of Sciences, which is a decentralized funding mechanism. We've produced some really complex papers on just about every aspect of Galactica, so we'd be thrilled if you read through all of those. If you need something a bit more concise, then you can simply look at the deck, which is on the very first page of galactica.com. If you need anything else, just let me know. You can tag me in Discord, and I will see if I can help you out with that. We've also got amazing moderators, sentinels, and team members in Discord too, as well as Telegram. So Telegram, Discord, whichever platform you prefer. I hope that helps.
All right, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome, Shek, and you're always welcome up on this stage. Thank you very much for coming up and providing your questions. Very, very, very much appreciated. All right, everyone. So I'm just going to ask you one last time, guys. If you can give us a like and a retweet on this space, it would be absolutely amazing. We would appreciate it forever. Myself and Hoss and Matt and Shek, we've been, as well as Paper from earlier, we've been trying to provide as much value as we can to you, our listeners, for as long as this space goes on. So if you think we have provided value, if you've enjoyed listening to us, then make sure that you give us a like and a retweet on the space. Doesn't cost you anything, doesn't cost you any time really. So if you can help us out, that would be awesome. Get us higher in the algorithm, get more people listening to the recording. Okay, well, I absolutely, you know what? I've really enjoyed this space. I've missed you guys. Like I haven't seen you guys in like 2 weeks or more, and I've missed it. I love speaking to you guys. I love speaking to you, Hoss, Matt. Absolutely adore it when you come up, mate. I love speaking to the community and just getting involved. So yeah, I've missed this. And we're going to be doing an awful lot more community events. If you didn't catch what we were doing in the previous weeks before I went on holiday, we are now doing community events on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So on Monday, we will be hitting Telegram with our Galactican Town Hall. We will be doing that at 10 o'clock UTC every Monday on Telegram. That will be in the video chat in Telegram. We will also be doing this space every Wednesday, as usual, 8 o'clock UTC every Wednesday for Into the Cypher State, the single best live stream / X space stroke podcast, stroke whatever you are in Web3. And then we will also be hitting you on Discord, in the Discord stage, every Friday at 10 o'clock UTC in the morning. And that will be as a Galactica Town Hall once again, just on Discord. So we do one on Telegram, one on Discord. It's been absolutely amazing speaking to you, everyone. Hoss, Matt. Matt, do you have any final words before we leave?
Not too much. It's a very interesting topic for me. It was a good bait, great title for the spaces. But I always enjoy tuning in and listening to your content. And again, thanks for having me. And I shall tune in again and join you in the future. Boss and yourself, it was a pleasure.
Likewise. Yeah, my closing thoughts are all somewhat the same all the time. I just appreciate everyone that tunes in, listens to it live, listens to the recording, that gets active, asks questions, that's involved, wants to learn more. Nothing but respect and admiration for people like that. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day, your night, evening, wherever you're located at, and cheers.
Thank you for coming up, Hoss. Thank you for coming up, Matt. Shek, great to have you up, dude. Wonderful to see everyone in the chat. I see we've got several of our sentinels in the chat. We got April, we got Villain, we got Tildon, we got Taro, we got everyone in the chat. Wow. We've also got some wonderful people who I have not seen before in the space. So thank you very much for coming up and joining us. Check out galactica.com or galactica.com/links if you want to get started with our project. We are trying to improve this space. We are trying to make it even more human. So, we are doing very well in blockchain, in Web3 for the financial aspect of things. We are very good at that. We've had 15 years or so to really nail down that stuff and improve it, and we're improving it every day. But Galactica, we are trying to build in the human part of the equation. We are trying to bring in your identity. We are trying to bring in your reputation. And we are trying to keep your human, your human rights intact while we do it. That means you can be identifiable, you can be reputable, but you're also going to be private. Always private. That means that you can interact and be the way you want to be on chain without any worries, any fears about being censored, about being interfered with, and you can just be you. So, if you are interested, like I say, galactica.com or galactica.com/links and start questing on Taskon. We just moved over to Taskon. It's a great platform. So if you want to start questing with us, then do that. We are in testnet right now. We're aiming for a mainnet somewhere very late this year, maybe even beginning of 2025. It really depends on how fast the technology comes together. As you can probably tell from the description I've just given, the technology is insanely impressive. It involves zero-knowledge cryptography, the very latest in fully homomorphic encryption technology. It's absolutely bonkers, the technology that is going into our protocol. So basically, it will be done when it is done. We are trying our very best to make that as fast as humanly possible. We have a very good roadmap. We believe that we'll be able to get it done by the end of the year, beginning of next. We will make sure that we get this product out to you as quickly as we can. We are building in public, and we are trying to make sure that we are involving you at every step. So if you have any questions, then ask in Discord or Telegram. You can ask any of our sentinels. They are incredibly knowledgeable and very friendly. So if you have any questions, ask them. And thank you very much, everyone, for coming and joining us on this show. Every Wednesday, 8 o'clock in the evening, UTC. And we do this every Wednesday for the benefit of the space, for the benefit of our community. Thank you very much. So give us a like and a retweet on our way out. And thank you very much for joining us, everyone. We will see you on next week's episode of Into the Cypher State. I'll see you very soon.
Take it easy.